Welcome to the Uchoose podcast. We're so glad you're here. Please take a moment, pause this podcast right now, and share it with someone you think would find this podcast interesting. We would really appreciate it. Please go to uchoosepodcast.com. That's the letter U, choosepodcast.com, and find the different ways that you can connect with us and how you can be part of the live event. And without further ado, let's get into the adventure you choose. We've got a special guest here today on the podcast, the creator of the Choose Your Own Adventure books, Mr. Edward Packard. And so thank you for joining the podcast, Mr. Packard. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Eddie and I just take a second here to fan gush, because your books, I know the listeners are all fans of the book. This whole series was so iconic and so influential during the 80s. So even today, it's ubiquitous. People will still describe a game or a movie. They'll just say, oh, it's like a choose your own adventure book. And kids that are even 11, 12, 13 years old today will know exactly what you're talking about. So
Mr. Packard, I can't thank you enough. You may get this all the time, and I can't control that. But what I can control is this. Your books were my favorite books as a little boy. Like literally, like my eyes lit up. And there's times where, as the series went on, there were other books that came out that were trying to kind of emulate that style. And I was like, no, it's trash. Give me a choose your own adventure book now.
Well,
Like
thank you
it was
so
just
much. It's one
yeah.
of the great pleasures of my life that so many kids liked reading my books.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, they're great.
I swear it was just some of the best memories I have is reading those books. And so I just thank you so much again. So
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to go through some questions, and we're going to treat this interview kind of like a choose your own adventure book. So if you're listening, we'll read the two questions, and then Mr. Packard will get to decide which one he would rather answer. So we'll get started here. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. First decision here. Through our reading as children and through the podcast, we've noticed the introduction of ethical choices in the Choose Your Own Adventure books, whether to help or perhaps betray a friend's trust has occasionally popped up. Were you ever tempted to make the protagonist in the books do a complete shift and become a villain? So that's option one. Or option two, how do you ensure each choice feels significant and contributes to the overall narrative?
Well, let's go for option one. I had in mind that the kids who read this book, or when I was writing it, the reader, I would give the option of the reader to make stupid decisions, maybe cross the line a little bit about being sleazy or something, or not so great a person, but
yeah.
never an evil person, never a real crook or never cruel, but maybe thoughtless and stupid and not really thinking things through very much. And I tried to stick to that. And yeah, I thought some ethical questions would be good because that's important in life.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that too. It's just fun to see it pop up in those books.
Some of your characters, they can be a little I guess arrogant sometimes, some of their choices.
Yeah.
I
I'm
like
the
how
smartest boy that ever lived.
yes.
I'm going to solve this crime. I guess our question two here, sir, we'll give you the options here. Option A, the book covers, the actual covers themselves have such an iconic look with the border around the image and the simple white background. What was it like coming up with that cover concept? Or B, how did you decide on the consequences of different choices within the story?
Well, oh, I take one of those. Well, I'll quickly say that I didn't have anything to do with the cover concept. Bantam Books is a powerhouse paperback mass marketing. And they had a big art department, design department, and they
Okay.
take it and run with it. And so I really wasn't involved in that at all. And how did I decide what choices to come up with? Well, I
Yeah.
try to imagine this was a real situation and where there would be at least two choices, usually two. Once in a while, there'd be more than two choices. And so it shouldn't be a slam dunk whether you do A or rather than B. I wanted to have some plausibility for each choice. So the reader might actually have to think about which to do and which would be the best bet.
Well, the next one here, option A, are there any techniques or strategies you use to engage readers and keep them invested in the story? Or option B, what are some of the common misconceptions about writing interactive fiction that you have encountered?
Well, I really don't know too much about B because I don't know. I haven't kept track of what other people have been doing that much and what they think about it and what misconceptions they might have. And what was the first one? Which
Yeah,
I
are
guess
there any techniques or strategies that you used to engage the reader and keep?
the general techniques that any fiction writer would use is to try to create a story that even if it's fantasy or science fiction, it's plausible within the framework of the story, and that there's some suspense to it and some excitement and some problem that has to be solved or opportunity that you could take advantage of. I think it's pretty much those basic rules, and, I don't know how I can't think of much more about it than that I tried to make it suspenseful and interesting.
Was there anything, kind of a side note, since your target audience was what, 8 to 12-year-olds? Did you have to kind of keep that in mind as you were writing?
Yeah, you're definitely writing for a certain age, but the, you you know, the people kids like to imagine what it's like to be older and be able to do things that they're not allowed to do. So many of the things adventures were things that you wouldn't be able to do, but you'd be able to do it in the book. So you might as well do it. I remember there was a girl when I was growing up, there was a girls' magazine that was extremely popular for girls, and it was titled 17. And all
Mhm.
the girls that read it were 12 years old or something. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
so there's certainly that. And but occasionally the artists got carried away with it, and they were supposed to keep the cover portrait of the kid on the cover looking like a kid, more or less. But what the kid was doing was much older, and some of the artists forgot that they were supposed to make it like a kid, so they made a guy look who was the reader was 10 years old, but he'd look like James Bond or something. Uh, so the covers didn't always match up in that respect.
Oh man, those covers though. Paul Granger, the guy that did a lot of those early ones, he was phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, he is very, very popular.
yeah,
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 he really crushed it on that art.
he did. He did.
Um, our next question, sir, is what is a choose your own adventure plot or book you were unable to write that you wish you could have? Or option B, if you were to write one more choose your own adventure book, what would it be about?
Well, in a way, they're a little bit the same question
Yeah.
Kind of
because
the same question. Yeah.
I wasn't well, I wasn't able to write it because I hadn't thought that much about it. But since I was writing these books, I've had a lot of life experience, and I went off the rails quite a bit, and I began to think more about what's involved in making good decisions, and so I uh, actually I wrote a book last year, which is now on my website called Imagine 59 Thought Experiments that tell you what you think. Well, it may not tell you what you think, but these thought experiments are my way of examining. They mostly involve a choice, like a choose your own adventure book. They kind of probe more deeply than I ever did in writing these choose your own adventure books about what
Nice.
the various considerations are in making a choice. And if anybody's interested in that, they can look at my website at edwardpackard.com. And if it's working right, you can see the table of contents, what the 59 thought experiments are, and you can download the book free if you want. But that's kind of my substitute for writing the Choose Your Own Adventure book I never wrote, although it's not technically a Choose Your Own Adventure book. There's just one thought experiment where it gives you a choice of turning it to 2 pages, but there are many where it discusses what the considerations are for each one. So, I would say it would be a book that would, uh, try to, it'd be not so easy, but try to weave into the same story, uh
Mhm.
uh, uh, the issues that come up in my thought experiments, and I do create a character who it's called the wizard or the whiz who you have conversations with, and so that is sort of a unifying theme. So
Okay.
that's my substitute for writing the Choose Your Own Adventure book I'd like to write.
Can I ask you a follow-up? What was is there a significant to 59, or is
The,
that just what the number was?
the 59 thought experiments, yeah.
Okay.
That
Awesome.
the I did that I just wrote as many as I thought I could think of, and I was running out of steam, so and then I took what I thought was in a way, a good one to wrap it up, and I made that
Mhm.
number 59.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just before we hopped on, I went to your website and was looking at it. So it's working, and I'll put it in the show notes so people can check it out if they want to.
Mhm.
I'm downloading it myself right as
Yeah.
soon as we're done here.
I hope you, I hope you read number 59
Yeah.
particularly because
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Packard, this is question 5, and you have 2 choices here. What are some of your most memorable reactions or experiences that readers have shared with you about your stories? Or option B, can you share any behind the scenes stories about the collaborative process with illustrators or editors to bring your stories to life?
I didn't the again with Bantam, they would choose the illustrator for each book,
Mhm.
and I would submit the manuscript, and sometimes I'd write notes about things, and they weren't that great generally at matching all of
Mhm.
the text to the illustrations. They were like artists who are very free spirited people, and so I didn't have too much experience with that. And what was the first part of it?
The first part of it was, what are some of the most memorable reactions or experiences that readers have shared with you about your stories?
Well, I don't think I have any particularly memorable ones, but I have gotten a lot of comments about people saying that the books meant a lot to them, and so just generally that was, as I said, with in your case, very pleasing to me to have been able to make somebody feel happier and maybe get more interested in reading. Uh,
Yeah.
there was a funny thing when I was first trying to sell the series, or sell a book, my first book,
Mhm.
and I met an agent. I was then practicing law, working for RCA Records, and
Mhm.
I ran into I somehow met an agent, and she said, I told her about this idea, and she said, it's hard enough to get children to read these days. You're just making it harder, making them have to make a decision. She
Yeah.
was so off base on that,
I
Yeah.
know.
and but the readers were they loved it, including getting killed.
Oh yeah, getting killed was half the fun. You were like, "Well, that didn't work. Go back to go back to the beginning." I to this day, I still remember when for me, my favorite book was Cave of Time,
Yeah.
and I got that book at a Scholastic book fair. I will never forget. I lived in upstate New
Mhm.
York at the time, and I ran outside during our recess and read that book under a tree. I was like, "You kids go and play. I'm gonna read like a nerd."
Playing hooky in order to read a book. That's unusual.
Right?
See, yeah, that agent of
Exactly.
yours was way wrong.
Risking trouble.
Yes, I remember the first time I saw him. I think it was at a kid brought it to church or something like that, and I was just like, "What's this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, these are these books. You get to make all the decisions." Like, you're kidding me, really? The next day I remember demanding my mom we got to go to the store and get these. They were awesome. I think it was Chimney Rock was the one that kid had, and I was like, "This is the coolest."
Yeah, I try to do some of the major themes for books like the the scary book, the horror book, but I wasn't too much into horror. I think the Chimney Rock, which later they changed the name on a reprint to The Haunted Mansion. Uh, but then along came specialists in it. I don't know if you ever read R.L. Stein, a
Yeah,
guy who wrote
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps and
Goosebumps.
things like that. They did a whole special thing, and so we did a few special uh, little series that didn't sell much, I don't think, of horror books. And I did a couple like the you are you are I did a book called Space Vampire, and another
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
the Night of the Werewolf or something like that.
Isn't there one You Are a Monster too? Like You Are a Monster.
And then I think the series was called Choose Your Own Horror, wasn't it? Or Choose Your Own Nightmare. Choose Your Own
It's
Nightmare.
Your Nightmare.
Yes, Choose Your Own Nightmare. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Takes on a different connotation when we're middle-aged now.
Yeah.
More like which restaurant I'm going to eat at. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's the hardest question.
It's going to hurt. All right, Lee, you're up, I think, on the next
Yeah,
one.
here's another one. So, option A, have you ever drawn inspiration from real life experiences when crafting the worlds and scenarios in your books? Or option B, we've noticed themes that pop up in the books consistently, like time travel, UFOs, and a slant towards the paranormal. Did you find these topics interesting, or were they just simply good storylines for the books?
Well, I've always been interested in astronomy and space, and so something like what would it be like if you were captured by a UFO? That was almost a natural for me. For me, I I I wasn't that interested in the paranormal, but because I like science fiction, meaning the idea that this really might be able to happen. Whereas fantasy, nobody thinks it could happen. It's like a parable of life, but it's not meant to be scientifically. It doesn't have any scientific pretensions. And I, but something like where I book my book Hyperspace, there and the idea of hyperspace is it's extra dimensions, and there are all kinds of phenomena could happen that couldn't happen in our regular space that we're used to. So that was probably one area where I definitely went into the paranormal. With regard to time travel, that's an ancient theme. There was a H.
G. Wells.
B. Wells,
Yeah.
I think it was, wrote
H.G. Wells, yeah.
Time Machine, the original one. I think that was around 1905 or something like that. That was a clumsy contraption or something. So, and I thought, oh, it'd be fun to do a time machine. You can go into the past or the future. Just gives you a lot more material to work with, historical or speculative. And so I was talking to my daughter, and she said, "Well, how about instead of a clunky time machine, have another way of getting to another time?" So she thought up the idea of a cave, and you go in the cave, and there are various tunnels and so forth, and chutes, and you go down, and woo, you're suddenly in another particular time. And that was great because you just go any place, and it was chance where you ended up. Although you knew where you're going to end up by the cover of the book for the title, but
Yeah.
it was simply another way of doing a time machine, but not using a mechanical device.
Oh, wow. So that came from your daughter, Andrea?
Yeah.
Yeah, she helped you write some of the books later, didn't she?
She was about 16. Yeah, she wrote one regular choose. Was it Secret of the Sun God? I think it
Yes.
was.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think so.
nice.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
thought it was real apropos that Cave of Time, well, Sugar Island technically was the first one, but the last book in the series, I think it was Mayday, was the one that you and her wrote together, right?
Yes, that was right. And I got to tell you something about that one. That was the last book. And BAM was losing all interest in it, and they were going to wind the series down. And they had some editor assigned to it who wasn't into it at all. And I titled the book "Bush Pilot." Your uncle was a pilot, and So you're flying with him in Alaska. He's a bush pilot in Alaska, and he has a heart attack. I think. Well, anyway, unfortunately, I put maps in that. So when you have a decision to make, you could look at the map and see that would help guide your choice. And
Mhm.
they inexplicably left out the map completely.
Oh,
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, Andrea wrote some of that, and so that was too bad, but that was the end of this. That ended on that note. Nobody noticed it. Of course, the readership was much smaller by the end than it was earlier on. So not many people. I think if I were, I could imagine a reader writing and complaining, how was I to tell what decision to make? It was just like flipping a coin, but I didn't mean it to be like flipping a coin. I meant if you look at the map, you can probably see that turning right or cut or going with the wind or whatever would be a
mhm.
better choice. Yeah, Andrea wrote, and my wife Sarah Compton and her son wrote one called Daredevil Park, and we were we went to Florida. We were visiting. My brother was living in Florida then, and he, we went down there and we went to Orlando, and I had to go on to as research for her writings. Daredevil Park. I had to go on the Space Mountain or rocket or some roller coaster. It was the
Yeah.
scariest. It was much scarier. Yeah, I'm supposed to be into scary things, but it was too scary for me. Anyway, I went on it and survived.
I love Space Mountain. Space Mountain's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
It really is.
yeah. It was. I said, people. I thought when I got off, people pay for this. It's like being
That's fair.
masochist.
Our next question, sir, here is what are some of your favorite Which Way books that were inspired by Choose Your Own Adventure? Or or option B, Dinosaur Island, that book. Why? We kid because we thought it felt like very much inspired by Jurassic Park, and we were like, I wondered if that was part of the thought behind Dinosaur Island.
Well, first of all, I can't remember the relationship of that to the movie Jurassic Park. I think it may have come out before the movie Jurassic Park. All I remember is the book, the original book, and but I basically thought it'd be fun to do it. I don't think I would have done it if Jurassic Park had been everybody had been doing it, but maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, I thought it it's a it's a subject. It's a fascinating subject. What would it be like if you were suddenly transported back to Jurassic times? I don't think
Yeah.
this. The only thing I did see the movie at some point, and the only thing I remember about it, but it was very funny, was the guys are in a Jeep or something, and the mirror on the right side of the car says, "Objects are larger than they appear in the
Yeah.
mirror."
That was a great
Or
bit. That was a great bit.
they're closer
Closer.
than they
Yeah.
appear. But,
Uh,
I did have a kid write me and say, "You said that these dinosaurs eggs were preserved in amber." And he said, "You copied that from Jurassic Park." And wrote back and said, "I did not copy it from Jurassic Park. I copied it from a book I read or an article I read that was before it came out that said that that's one conceivable way that dinosaurs could be reproduced." So everybody draws on past things that
oh
uh,
yeah.
and past sources of information and so forth. Uh, they, I have read since that there's no chance that they're going to make the dinosaurs out of dinosaur DNA and amber, though there is a chance they could make a sort of mammoth.
Yeah. I saw. I was
Um,
gonna say that. Yeah.
but it would be partly crossed with an elephant, and
Elephant.
the
Yeah.
rest of
But
it would
still.
be mammoth DNA. I don't know if that'll ever be done, but apparently it's not gonna happen with dinosaurs. So They'll just have to stay in the movies and books.
Makes you wonder if Michael Crichton read that same article that you did.
Well, I'm sure he did, or another article that
Mhm.
postulated that, or maybe he thought of it himself and
You never
investigated
know.
it, talked to a biologist who said conceivably it would be possible. I don't know.
We noticed that that book had peak, almost ethical choices in that book too, where it was like, "Do you save Todd or do you leave him for dead?" You know, and it was like we were like, "This is great!" Like there were so many hit points in Dinosaur Island where you could help your friends
Oh,
or leave them, and
well,
we just thought it was kind of funny after a
I
while.
guess that's a pretty realistic
Oh yeah,
part of
yeah,
it.
absolutely. It's like, hmm. No, appreciate you answered on that one. There's one more question, Lee. Look at that, we're almost right at time. Look at
Yeah,
that.
right on time. So, last option here. So, option A, how did you come up with the idea to write yourself in the hyperspace book? Or option B, what's your favorite choose your own adventure book that somebody else wrote? So, which one would you like
Well, I
there?
have to go with A because I read quickly the Choose Your Own Adventure books drafts of my subcontractors. I don't know if you know that they gave me and Ray Montgomery equal contracts each year when we were doing 12 books a year. So I'd get 6 and
Mm,
he'd get 6. And I'd write 2 or 3 of mine, but it was more than I could do to write them all 6 that I was assigned for the year. So we had subcontractor, and my biggest main subcontractor was Rick Brightfield,
Yeah.
but I had some other people too. And so I read their drafts, but uh, uh, it's, for all I know, they among them there may be better ones than I wrote, but I just didn't get into them emotionally the way I got into my own. So I really can't, and I didn't bother. I didn't read Ray Montgomery or his subcontractors. So it's not a question I can answer very knowledgeably. So but the first part of your question, which was that hyperspace, I was trying to think of weird things that wouldn't be in a normal book, and it just popped into my mind, and I was so pleased.
that's great.
And
That was
then
a great little
and then I
uh,
thought, this is gonna be really great because the reader can say, "Oh, thank goodness I've got the author here. Oh, what a break! He can help me." But then I had myself fall through a crevasse, so I couldn't help it. I just got the most. I got huge fun out of that, and of course, it fit in with the utter weirdness of things going on in hyperspace.
if things are going weird, keep it going.
That was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. Breaking the fourth wall and just having the author talk to the reader. It's just
Having the author address the reader, and it's
it's just
in his
But
own book. It's
not
amazing.
being much help.
did not
And
be
not
much
being
help.
much help at all.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh man, I had Mr. Packard here and he's gone."
I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody's done that, but that, as far as I know, that's the only kids book that has done that I know of.
I think Stephen King may have at one point. I mean, he's written so many books and probably right saying that, but I don't know of many authors who've written themselves into a story like that. It's exciting.
Yeah, Stephen King I only think I read one book of his, but not because they weren't great books or aren't great books, but I think he had quite quite a bit of paranormal. I
Oh,
also read a book of his where he about nonfiction book where he'd been almost killed by a careless motorist,
mhm.
and it was all about writing and how uh, his feelings about writing books. But he did have one book I remember reading the review of it where there was sort of an invisible wall around a town and nobody could get
Oh
out.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
forget what that was called. Yeah, so he's amazing. I mean,
He's a good
how
author for
he
sure.
found out so much, and he had a funny thing about his writing. He's very strict about that. He doesn't allow adverbs, and so uh, and because adverbs tend to weaken a sentence, and I've noticed this myself. On the other hand, Shakespeare uses adverbs, but of course he knows how to use them just right.
Yeah.
So there was something to that, but Stephen King has very strong feelings about that.
I've been the same way, and whatever writing I've done, I've tried to get away from adverbs as much as I
Yeah.
can.
Well,
Like-
there you put one in, you see a sentence with an adverb, take it out. It's usually a stronger sentence without.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey, I looked this up. It's Under the Dome is the name of that the town that gets sealed off by
Under the Dome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Under the Dome, Stephen King.
If I had time, I'd read all of Stephen King. But boy, with books, you really have to. There's so many wonderful books.
You really do. I've resorted to audiobooks at this point in my life because I just, like you said, time is kind of a limited commodity anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Mr. Packard, it's 30 minutes, so we want to be very respectful of your time. But
Well, I much appreciate the chance to talk with you guys. You're both. It's really a treat for me that I wrote these books for 10-year-olds and to actually be able to meet some people who are grown-up versions of the kids.
yeah,
Some 50-year-olds that are like, we love it. Yeah.
Your interest.
yeah.
And by the way,
Yeah.
don't forget to do thought experiment number 59 and
I'll have to look at this.
make your decision.
Make your decision.
Absolutely.
We have
Okay.
the assignment for the listener. Go check it out and read number 59.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks again.
All right. Thank you,
Bye.
Mr.
Thank
Packard.
you, Mr. Packard. We'll see you.
See ya.
Okay.